This is the plaintiff, Donnie Gray. He says his niece's ex-husband, the defendant, cleared out their joint bank account and stole $500 in cash he gave his niece as a gift. This $500 did not belong to him. He was caught red-handed stealing it, and he's suing him for just that today in court. This is the defendant, Tim Collins. He says his ex-wife, Courtney, who is the plaintiff's niece, took $500 out of their bank account without authorization, so he just kept the $500 in cash the plaintiff gave him. In his eyes, they're completely even, because he has proof Courtney stole the money from their bank account, and therefore he doesn't owe anybody anything. He's accused of cashing and dashing.
All parties, please raise your right hand. The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Leonton presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Gray, you are suing Mr. Collins for $500 that he, according to you, did not give to the person you instructed him to. Tell me how you two know each other, Mr. Gray.
He married my niece.
Okay, and my understanding is that you kind of raised your niece?
I did.
Okay.
Her mom died at an early age, and my mother actually, was the main person raising them, but
okay.
They spent some time in my house, quite a bit of time.
Okay.
So yes, we was real close.
And are they still husband and wife?
Yes, ma'am.
They're
filing for divorce.
Filing for divorce,
speak,
okay.
But it's not final.
Right. Mr. Collins, are there children from that marriage or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
One, a daughter.
And how many years have you been married?
14.
Okay. All right. So what happens, Mr. Gray? Why is it that you were in contact with Mr. Collins?
What went down was they lived in a city about 2.5 hours from here, out of town, and he cleaned out the bank account and left her behind without any money, no money in the checking account or anything. Well, I heard about it, and so I called Courtney and I tell her, "Look, I'm gonna send you some money."
You're going to send the money with the guy who wiped her out?
Well, let me tell you, Your Honor, the way I went down to do it. No, I didn't trust him, okay? But I did say, I can mail it to you. Well, he had their daughter, and he was supposed to have been taking their daughter, which is Ella, home. And so Courtney said, why don't you just give it to Ella? I did not give it to him to start with. I specifically gave it to Ella.
Okay. How old is Ella?
She's 11.
Okay. So did you tell Ella what you were giving her?
No one knew it was money in the envelope.
So you just said to Ella, give this to your mom?
That's exactly right. I had on the envelope, Courtney only.
What could go wrong?
Ella, and exactly. I had my suspicions to start with, no doubt.
Right, you just told me how he wiped out the bank account and left her with nothing. All right, so.
Well, hey, it was her idea, it wasn't mine.
I know, it was a terrible idea. She's the woman who didn't think of going to the bank and getting her half. All right, so go on, what happened?
Well, she did later.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
I know, we're going to get to that.
She talked to her sister, and then on Saturday morning, when she knew that the check had been deposited that he had made that week was in the bank, she went and got half of it out. And she didn't really get even half of it. But anyway, she got $500 out of the account. So he calls me, and he's going to tell me, I put the $500 in the account and told her she could go ahead and take it out now. Well, that didn't sound right to me. And I told him, I said, well, what you doing opening the envelope? You weren't supposed to open the envelope anyway. He didn't even know there was money in there. But when he's saying where she had taken out $500, then he comes up with this scheme to make me think that was the $500 that I was going to give her anyway.
But as it turns out, the $500 she took was she had already taken it.
That $500 was out of his paycheck, and she had the right to get that money to start with. He should have.
Where is she with you? Is she with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I hear from her?
Want to talk to her?
Yeah, I sure do. Okay, can you go ahead and sit in? There we go.
Hello.
Darling, how old are you?
Me, 30.
You look 15 years old. Seriously.
A lot of people say that.
Yeah, I bet. I bet I'm not your first. Can you raise your right hand?
Yes,
Can you swear her in, please?
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, so you can put your hand down now. Can you tell me what happened?
I can. So we are in the middle of a divorce. It should be final within the next couple weeks. We were having a lot of issues. There was infidelity involved, and I decided
Who
to
was
separate.
unfaithful?
Him.
Okay.
It wasn't the first time. So I went and stayed with a friend because I didn't feel, honestly, he was having a lot of mental health issues that he had been dealing with. And so I didn't feel safe staying there. And he wound up leaving to come back 2.5 hours, which is where we are now, back at home with family. And I decided to go back to the house since I knew it would be safe. And at the time, I went to the bank account to get out money because my landlord is needing money. I had a loan on my vehicle I needed to pay. And everything was wiped.
Zero.
And there was like maybe $13 in there.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
I do have my statements, but and
When did that happen?
it was October, the beginning of October.
Of
We
2020
separated
or of 2021?
this year.
Of this year.
It was
Okay.
probably around the 1st of October.
Okay.
And so I obviously went to my friend that I had been staying with, and I was like, what do I need to do? I'm kind of stuck here. I'm in this situation. And she told me that she knew legally that I was allowed to, when the next check hit, because we had a joint bank account, that I was legally entitled to half of what was in the bank account.
Was there a pending divorce at that point? Well, like, had someone filed for divorce?
I filed on the 14th of last month.
So at the time that the money was taken out by him, was there a pending divorce?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So then the divorce gets filed in the middle of the month. And then what happens?
So I went to the bank because I'm dealing with a narcissist. And I went to the bank, and I knew how he thinks because I've been with him 13 years. And I knew he would do the same thing with the next check and withdraw the money because he wants me to have to depend on him. So what I did was I went to the bank and I waited right before they opened, and I went to the ATM because I knew I could withdraw $500 out of the ATM. And I have the bank statement showing that I even left probably $700 in there. So I didn't even withdraw half of what was in the account out.
Okay.
I only withdrew $500 because I had bills and things that had to be paid.
Okay. Had there been
And
any
he left
talk
me
when
with
you guys
everything.
split up? Had there been any talk about how the money was going to be divided or anything?
Oh, no, not at that point. No, ma'am.
Why is your divorce going through so quickly? Is this it's agreed upon?
Yes, ma'am. We did
And-
wind up agreeing upon.
And what was it that was agreed upon? 50-50?
Yes, ma'am, basically.
Okay. So let me hear from you, Mr. Collins. What's going on?
So I feel like I need to give you a little bit of backstory on me because they started off cutting me down with the narcissist stuff, and I'm not going to attack them at all, okay? But when the divorce happened, there was text messages, what she calls infidelity. It was one night of inappropriate text messages that didn't turn into anything, a meetup or pictures or anything. She decided that was grounds for divorce, and that's okay because she's been twisted for a long time, and I've been trying to help her, and I can't. Anyways, so she said she wants me to leave. I get kicked out. I go sleep in Walmart parking lot. So the house is hers. I say, the house is yours. Everything we have, whatever you want. We didn't have any money in the bank at this point because I had just got my job. We were waiting on like my second paycheck to come in, and she was right. We had things to pay, but she's not as aware of everything we needed to pay because she's never been any help in that way. So when the paycheck hit my account, Ella was with me. It was a cold day. I was thinking about I needed to get her a coat because Courtney didn't pack anything to bring with her. And I woke up and I checked my bank account, and Courtney had ran and pulled $500 out without even saying anything to me.
Well, let me ask you, had you said anything to her when you pulled out 100% of what was in there a few days earlier?
That wasn't until afterwards. So we had talked about money. I knew she was going to have a hard go because she doesn't have a job and she doesn't have any work history. So I'm not trying to hurt her. I just want to be free of this. So I said, if you determine that I did the wrong thing, I will own up to that, but I don't feel I did.
She says that you wiped out the account as soon as she broke up with you.
Mm-mm. No, so
What day did you wipe out the account?
About an hour after she pulled the $500 without talking to me. And I sent the bank records proving that.
Okay, everybody hold on. We're going to look at some bank records now. Did you pay the rent for October, Mr. Collins?
Yes, ma'am. That's that check you see on the 1st for $800.
All right, so I'm seeing on October 1st Your payroll check comes in $977.41. That comes in on October 1st.
Yes, ma'am. It's set a couple times in the month. It kind of changes.
So there's an $800 check for rent that you paid. Is your rent $800, Ms. Cullums?
It is, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then it looks like he paid the rent on the 1st of October from the account. Why are you saying he left you high and dry with rent bill?
Well, I mean, it was coming up the next month, but also
Wait, the next month is, stop. The next month is November 1st. You told me, and you probably told your uncle, that when he left you high and dry and wiped you out. Well, it turns out that I see here that he paid the rent.
Okay. But I also had the car payment.
Sure, I understand.
We had with,
did you pay the car payment, Mr. Collins?
She left it with our landlord, who we had worked out a deal with.
Why the landlord? What does the landlord have to do with the car?
He's the person we bought the car from.
Oh.
He was also a friend and the person we went to church with.
Okay.
I had sent pictures.
So let me ask you a question. If the divorce, everybody agrees it's going to be half and half of everything, then I imagine that it would be half and half of the paycheck that came in, and half of the next paycheck that comes in, until you guys have settled.
She said it was 50-50. She had called me and said, I did some looking and it looks like child support for Arkansas is $500 a month. What do you think about that? So the papers we have signed, she has signed papers agreeing to only $500 a month. I gave her way over that for October because I understand it's hard to get
started.
What
did you give her for October?
Well, first I paid her rent. You'll also see about $300 in
Well, this is also your daughter's rent, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So that's why I take care of her.
Okay,
yes,
and
then
what?
My daughter's not going to want for anything.
Right, and then what?
And then they hand me an envelope. I put it in the middle of my car. I was going to take it to her, and then I wake up the next morning and she doesn't say anything to me. $500 is missing, and she doesn't even know the bills we have to pay because she's left the car, she's left the house, she just doesn't know what's going on right now. I'm kind of scared for my daughter's money, and so I go get the rest out an hour later. But you won't find bank charges where I did that before. All our money was in the account, and she had access up until that point that she got that bad advice.
Okay, you had said to me that I took care of her that month. So what else did you pay besides rent?
So if you'll look at the bank statements, she just had unrestricted access. So if she needed to go to McDonald's, she just swiped the card. The money was just sitting in the account until that point. Any money I had, she had access to.
Okay.
I'm not as bad of a guy as they're trying to make me look out.
Well, let's talk about the $500 envelope, okay? How did you see that there was $500 in that envelope?
I put it in the middle and forgot about it in the middle of my car because I knew I was going to be driving back to the city to take my daughter back. And a couple days later, she texted me. Well, after she had pulled the $500 out and I went and got the rest of the money so Ella would be secure. She texted me and said, "Don't forget that envelope when you bring Ella." And I texted back and I said, "Well, obviously you must have needed that money or something because you just went and pulled it out of my account without talking to me." So she reminded me of the envelope and I went and opened it up. Either our money is all our money together or it's all separate and they can't make up their minds which one it is. So they're going to hand me money and she can keep it separate, or my paycheck hits and she can have half my money. But either way, they want it to fall her way. I want to do the right thing, Judge, but I need you to tell me what that is.
I'm looking at the bank accounts and I can't see where he, quote, wiped you out. I'm not seeing any of that. I see that you guys are living hand to mouth and there's very little in the account until his paycheck comes in.
Okay, so I really cannot find this bank statement, but I'm telling you.
No, but I now have them. I have the bank statements from October 1st.
Okay, but does it go before that?
Well, no, because your breakup doesn't go before that. So when would he have wiped you out? I thought you said you guys broke up in October.
All I know is I went to the bank and there was no money in the bank.
Yes, sometimes there's no, apparently that happens to you guys a lot because his paycheck is $900 and the rent is $800. So yeah, there's yes. Do you work? You don't work.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I own my own business.
Say it again.
I have my own business. I have a cleaning business.
Okay, and where does that money go? Does it get deposited in the joint account?
Yes, ma'am. Most of the time, or it goes straight to bills. Or if we need to eat on it or groceries, we'll use it to that.
It's her spending money.
Okay. All right. Let me have Mr. Gray back. So there's no dispute about the facts of this case. They're very, very clear. Everybody agrees to them. What happened is you were not even entrusted. Ella was entrusted with an envelope. How is it that you get your hands on the envelope that Ella was entrusted with, Mr. Collins?
Because apparently she left it in my possession in the middle of a car. Why do you hand $500 to a child? It was sitting in the middle of my car.
It's ridiculous. So you open up an envelope addressed to someone else.
Well, I mean, I opened up an envelope sitting in the middle of my car. I didn't read it.
I'm sorry. Did you open it up? It said
Yes,
Courtney on the outside, right?
It did.
And you know who Courtney is, right? You didn't forget.
Right. Yeah. I remember because she just pulled out half my paycheck that morning.
Right. So you open it up and you find out
So
it's
our
money.
money's together, right?
Did you just wink
Right.
at me? Is that what just happened?
I'm so astounded at their lack of discernment in the situation that they think I'm trying to rob them when you can clearly see that I'm trying to do the right thing and take care of her.
I know. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you what the right thing is in a second. And I hear what you're saying. And that's why I know, but I don't just say, oh, you louse, you left her high and dry, typical man. I don't work that way. I don't think that way. I don't accuse people. I'm discerning the facts here to figure out exactly, because I want Uncle Donnie to know, because he's getting one side of it. And I want to figure out what really happened because I want Uncle Donnie to know, because there's going to be future contact here. And so I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. I don't see where you wiped her out. I don't see that. I see, Donnie, where, Mr. Gray, where he paid the rent October 1st. So it's not true that he left her high and dry on the rent. Okay, so now I've cleared your name of her accusation, but now we get to the nitty gritty of this case. And what do we have? We have her, in your estimation, taking money she's not entitled to. She has a point when she says, Judge, he's about control. If you know that it's half hers because she's married to you, why doesn't she have access to half of it? I guess you're annoyed that she didn't tell you. And she took it. You felt it was dishonest. Right, because she's not paying the bills with them. You're stuck paying her bills and I hear you. But my point is, Mr. Gray, you see how there's two sides to things? And this is something you hash out in the divorce when you enter into the settlement. And then hopefully you're able to co-parent effectively, because the one thing everybody agrees on is Ella's special and everybody loves her and she's a great kid. And we don't want Ella caught in the crosshairs, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, here's the thing, though, Mr. Collins. I realize that there's a poetic justice to what you did. Here you are. You can't believe she took $500 without saying anything. And boom, there's a gift from God. There's $500 in an envelope you opened that was addressed to her. Isn't that something? Well, you can't do that. Legally, you cannot do that. And here's the reason that you can't do it. What we have here, see, if this was Ms. Cullum suing you, then you can say, hey, but she took this, and Judge, you got to do a tally and figure out who's right. That's not the case I have in front of me. The case I have in front of me is Mr. Gray gives an 11-year-old an envelope addressed to his niece, and you intercepted it and put it in your pocket because you felt that the intended recipient didn't deserve it because of what she'd done the day before. And you see, it's not your envelope to put in your pocket. It's not your envelope.
According to our verbal agreements before, she was only entitled to $500 a month. But when she walked up,
tell it to the divorce judge before you sign. Tell it to the divorce judge before you sign the document.
Is our money together or is it separate?
That's something for your divorce judge. That's something for. See, that's like self-help. It's like a landlord saying, "You didn't pay the rent. I'm going to take all your furniture and put it outside and all your belongings and change the locks on the door." Yeah, it's poetic. It has a certain yin-yang to it, but it's not the law. Right? It's the same thing with this. This is money he gave to the 11-year-old to give to his niece. You're not entitled to any of it. If you want to get recompensed for what you felt was her doing something wrong, then that's what you hash out in the divorce proceedings. But you can't take the money he sent her and hijack it and put it in your pocket. Verdict for the plaintiff in the amount of the $500. And having said that, I hope, and I have kind of a little bit of faith about this, that you folks figure this out before the divorce next week and decide who's entitled to what and abide by whatever the judge tells you or whatever you agree in front of the judge, because I'm sure this is going to be a speedy, uncontested divorce. That's why it's happening so fast. So whatever it is that you guys agree to, if you're not going to account for that $500, then you're not going to account for that $500. If you want to account for that $500, then you need to account for that $500. If you're just going to call it water under the bridge, since she's a mother of your child and it's been 14 years, then just call it water under the bridge. But let's start fresh. Right. let's start fresh from here on in because Mr. Gray has all the legal right in this case. It wasn't your money to hijack, and if you want to account for it in the divorce. Go ahead. What did you want to ask, Mr. Collins?
Okay. I do want to say that I came being honest. He has no proof of handing me cash. I just agreed to that under oath, for one. Secondly, I do want to say that this man, I took his mother into my house when he was way better off than I was. I took care of her every day, and I had conversations with her every day, man. You weren't there. Don't laugh at me. That's not cool. But here's the deal. The first text message you sent me when I said, Courtney, you already got that money out of my account, the first thing you said to me is, I knew you were worthless from the time I met you. And your lack of discernment about me is the reason this is happening.
Okay.
I just want to say that.
All right. I wish all of you luck. I often regret letting someone have because I think it just damages more, but maybe not. Maybe he got it off his chest because...
I said what I needed to say. Your mother knows.
All right.
Knew.
Good luck, everybody.
Laugh all you want. You're a great guy.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Tim.
What a Christian. Wow.
So the judges figured out this case, and the plaintiff is indeed entitled to the $500 from the defendant, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins, you heard the judge. What do you think right now? You okay with that? You understand it?
I'm just happy it's over, sir. Yes, sir. The money was never the issue. It was getting these people away from my daughter.
All right. Well, let's hope you can work this out in the divorce proceedings and things will go smoothly from here on. Mr. Gray, what are you thinking right now? You're going to get that $500 back.
Yes, and it's only right. He knew it was a scheme from start with him. He thought he was going to tell me what he did and that I was going to be okay with it. Well, the bottom line, he was not supposed to open that. He knew that. He was standing right beside Ella when I gave it to her. And I told her then in front of him, do not let anyone else open this envelope. It's for your mom, you know. And he did. So, I mean, he's wrong.
And you obviously felt you had no other recourse but to file a lawsuit against him. Is that
exactly
way it worked out? All right.
Well, like
you think this will solve?
He's a narcissist, and he thinks everybody picking on him. I'm not picking on him, but he's never really been what he wants to perceive himself as being. You know, he tried to make everyone think he's an honest person, but he's really not. And I found out for sure with this.
All right. Congratulations. You're going to get your money. It was worth the lawsuit. Harvey?
So the short story here, Doug, is that you cannot use self-help to cure a debt, to get your money back, especially if it involves stealing. Now, if you have a lien on the property and somebody owes you something, then you can enforce that lien. But without a lien, you cannot use self-help.
When I am walking my dogs and a loose dog approaches us, is it the dog owner's responsibility if my dog bites their dog?
Okay, I'm going to say no. You're probably never going to have to pay for that in that circumstance because people have an obligation to keep their dogs safe and on leashes and away from running around like that on the loose. What are your thoughts on that?
The same. The law doesn't punish the dogs for being dogs. They're animals. We punish the humans for their behavior, which is not having the dog on a leash, not respecting the leash law.
Right, but there's always that weird exception. If the little dog Fluffy comes running over and you've got your dog on a leash, and as it's getting close, you're holding the dog close, and then you give it a little leash, and you go, "Get him, Chopper!"
Yeah,
and then your dog comes over.
Well, then you'd be punishing. Okay, then you'd be punishing the behavior of "Get him, Chopper," as opposed to.
So there is always some outlier situation.
Yeah.
And by the way, as long as I'm on that topic, why do people name big, strong, powerful dogs these awful, tough guy names? Why? And
then say, they're a pussycat,
right.
Like Rambo,
Turk or Brick or Tuffy. They have these really macho names for them, right? If I had a big dog who was potentially kind of a rough dog, I'd name him like Daisy or Bella, something really sweet sounding, right? So that if that day ever came when I'm in court,
just to prepare for the lawsuit.
Exactly,